Hello, everyone. So, welcome to Up the Ladder Season 2, a series of insightful yet candid conversation with software developers, data science professionals, and educators from across domains to help you accelerate your careers. So, today we have Ishan Tiwari. He's a he's a data science lead at Facebook, and he has 9 years of experience in product analytics and data science. And he's also a grad from ISM Dhanbad. So today we'll have a deeper conversation and we'll learn a lot about how does data science play a role in this FAANG companies and how it really works there and how could you crack data science role at a FAANG company and a lot of things about product analytics and everything. So let us start. So first of all, we'll deep digger Ishan into your journey and transition till now. How have you reached? Where are you right now? So I want to start it from the ground from your grad days. So could you just let us know and understand कि यार ठीक है अपने data science, how did you discover first of all in data science in the first place?
Sure. First of all, thanks a lot, Adit, for inviting me. It's really great to engage with Board Infinity and getting an opportunity to talk at this forum. And happy to pass on the knowledge which I have acquired in these years. So talking about my journey. So frankly speaking, when I started, I'll say when I started my college days, data science was not that big a thing. We have heard some words that, okay, some people are doing business analytics and some people are doing data analytics, but not much. And I'm going back to 2009. So 2009, I cleared the IIT got into the ISM Dhanbad and started my first year. There was a few companies like Mu Sigma. We have heard that they are doing some data work, but literally no idea. However, I have always been interested in mathematics. Even at my school level, I have participated in a lot of events and related to mathematics and have that curiosity. So in my second year, I actually started doing some research work which required a lot of simulation. So understanding the advanced mathematics, how do we use advanced statistical concept to run the simulation. At that time, I wasn't aware actually this would be used in data science. So I was just reading, trying to do my paper, and majority of the student trying for a.
What was the major in colleges and in your grad days?
I did a branch which is pretty unique. It's mineral engineering. It's the only, I think my college is the only college which offer undergrad in mineral engineering, but just to draw some proxy, it is very similar to a metallurgy or chemical kind of branch. So if we go into details, it's very different, but it's just a good proxy.
Relating to Sundar Pichai metallurgical ID.
I hope it turns out like that, but
yes.
So in my branch, we actually work a lot with understanding what are the right machineries we should be using to upgrade the quality of metal we get from mines so that we can feed into power plants or metallurgical plants. So required a lot of simulation work, optimizing things to get the maximum, we are doing physical beneficiations. So how to get the right equation and what are the right settings for machines. So a lot of work on that. So that I got used to Fortran, C++, and doing some programming on that. Very outdated things, but that was the case. Now, for first, in second year and third year, I spent a lot of time on this. By the time I reached my final year of college, I'll say sometime it's blessing in disguise. We had this massive coal scam, and then PSUs were not hiring from college. A lot of mining companies were not hiring. So we were facing that existential crisis. So I always did good in academics, and I was like, okay, anyways, I did not like the mine experience and I like that academic work or the mathematical work. But let me give it a shot on this analytics side or the technical consulting. So even in my internship days, I did technical consulting work related to my branch, but it required processing a lot of data. So just to give an example, we were having a client in Africa, they were having a processing plant. So we were getting a lot of data and we have to analyze the data to see how's plant performing, what are the bottlenecks. So this gave me actually my first exposure on working in Excel sheets and creating scalable sheets. And in consulting, they create really fancy sheets.
Right. So all about sheets all over the place.
It was all about sheets. So yeah, 2012, I spent a lot of time on that. And then after my college, I completed my college, I joined a company, SGS. They are like the best when it comes to testing in the world. So if you're shipping any food thing, or like if you are manufacturing some nut bolts of plane, SGS is the company which do all the certification. So I have a college senior and they have set up a new division called mineral processing. So they needed a associate who, it was a mix of engineering, sales, and consulting kind of work, like smaller divisions. So I was doing that. So there I worked with a client in a major Indian steel company. So a lot of data processing. After that, after that, similar to most of the fresh college grad, I also started preparing for CAT. I got good percentile, but not good enough for like I am ABC. So I started looking for some other jobs, and by that time I realized technical consulting is good. I'm learning some data, but mostly some data manipulation, Excel. And then I got an opportunity to interview with this company called ZS Associates. So they were they were one of the consulting firms which used to hire pre-MBA grads. So a lot of people from IITs and NITs used to go there. So I also applied, got the interview call. Frankly speaking, I don't know how I cleared the interview, but somehow I was lucky, get into ZS. And I'll say that was the starting point where I actually started doing some real data work. So
the interview experience, it was not about data science, it was general as per se?
In consulting, they mostly check your problem solving skills. So I still remember my interview first round was typical CAT-like questions where you have to do DI, LR, some mathematics. Then I interviewed with a consulting manager. So questions were like, at that time I was placed in Kolkata city. So they were like, how many 5 rupee coins are there in Kolkata city? So guesstimates, I don't know if they still use it, but at that time, that was the question they asked me. Then we were called for an on-site interview as such. So there they give us a raw data where we have to solve like 9 consulting case kind of questions in like 30 minutes, mostly like doing mathematics, and then a follow-up interview. And then they have this principal round, which is more like behavioral. Why do you fit for consulting? How you manage stress situation and all. Right. So yeah, it was back in 2013, long time back.
Yes.
So yeah, from there I joined ZS Associates, and I actually got exposed to real data work. The first 6 months, I was mostly doing analytics on Excel. And that time, this big data or like the bunch of data logging was not happening. This internet boom was yet to come in India. In US, they have seen the first .com and then .com bubble, but there were very few companies like Google or Amazon might be doing something. Facebook was still not big. So 2014, 2015 was the time when we saw the funding, and then we saw the Flipkarts and Snapdeals of the world. Right. And that is the time suddenly SQL was the skill which was getting a lot of demand. So after 1 year, I thought like maybe like a typical person having 2 years experience, yeah, I think I'm paid less, I want a hike, or so I should do a switch. And there's every day we were listening, a startup is giving you 2x or 3x the salary. Right. So I entered that SQL.
Just before that, I just wanted to understand about ZS Associates. So what was exactly, so you talked about Excel, something on those lines. So, but what exactly were your problem statements and what you're working upon there?
I think, give me a minute, like both these stories are intertwined. So let's start with something like the first year in ZS. Yeah. So there I was working with some pharmaceutical clients. I can't take the name. That's a client privilege kind of thing. So they are like major pharmaceutical companies in US, and we were doing mostly sales and marketing analytics. So the kind of problem we were having there is, let's say if we are launching a new drug, who are the doctors in US we should be reaching out. Our US ecosystem is pretty complex. They have insurance, unlike India where you can go to any doctor. We are not covered by any insurance. Their insurance is a lot, and drugs are medicines are really costly. So understanding their ecosystem, if this is already a mature product, a mature drug, who are the doctors, how many times we should be reaching out, who are the doctors we should not be reaching out, how are competitors performing. So looking into their sales data as well as their competitor sales data and coming up with the right sales or pitching strategy. So this was the majority of work I was doing in my first year. Then, like I said, this SQL bubble, this startup thing was coming up, and SQL was a skill which everyone was asking. And frankly speaking, they were not even asking for advanced SQL, things like join and all. But I have never worked on this. And when I went to, I still remember, I think it was for Snapdeal, I interviewed, and they asked me, can you join these two tables? And I have no idea how to do that. I was like, yeah, we can do this join. I was just, like I was just saying things, we can do this and that, but the person can see through. It was like, what I feel, you have right approach, right problem solving skill, but you don't know SQL. Why don't you do one thing? Uh, Read the SQL part. I'm not rejecting or accepting you. Just withdraw your application and apply again 3 months so that you don't have that cool off period. I took that person's advice. Then at that time, there was a site called SQL Zoo and W3 School.
Yes.
So I
Still
still
yeah.
exist.
Yeah.
At that time, their content was the only free content. We don't have like bunch of sites like today. So I learned all the concept from there, practiced a lot of interview questions, and then I just interviewed again. And I remember in 1 month, just by knowing SQL and puzzles, I cracked 5 jobs, and they were paying me like 2x to 3x of what ZS was paying. But somehow I felt I don't feel like I did not feel that the skills I was offering, it was worthy of the package they are giving. And I'm generally a cynical person. Right. And like the super data person, hey, there is no correlation in my salary. So
unlike it was all due to like funding coming in and all those, like the time which we had in 2021 right now.
Yep. So unlike others, I declined 2x and 3x salary. I thought I'll stay with ZS and complete my MBA dream. And I started preparing for my GMAT. ISB was the school I was targeting. And I was still at this point of time, I was more inclined towards going into consulting rather than doing the hardcore analytics work, and I feel that is primarily because the kind of people I was interacting, they were people from USB schools. Meanwhile, in this interval, I also went to US for 4 months, interacted with clients, worked with my partners to see how they're interested. It's more about communication, storytelling, strategy. And I see that here I have written a bunch of Excel sheets, and my sheet work is going in the appendix of the deck. So it was not, I thought, yeah, this is the real work and I need to do MBA. So I was like that horse who is just focused on one thing.
So just you talked a lot about Excel sheets. So just for our audience, can you just break it down? What exactly you used to do in Excel sheets? Like it was simple, like charts or like VLOOKUPs, or what exactly was it about?
So it was designing end-to-end analysis. So think like, I'll take an example. So for example, I have to find, there was a drug of the client, and they have this physician universe from US. Who are the physicians who are prescribing their drugs versus competitor drug, and then doing some deciling, percentile kind of thing. So merging multiple sheets, developing formulas to do the analysis, and eventually creating a final analysis summary. Sometimes if it's, we also used to create a lot of dashboards using VBA in Excel. So let's say we have to refresh the quarterly sales number. So we will write a VBA code, and just we have to update the backend sheet. And that time SQL was not used that frequently. So ad hoc analysis, end-to-end analysis design, and the dashboard. These are the 3 kind of things which we were doing in Excel. And it was like, I'll say I was kind of power user. Like you can blindfold me and I can run all the commands and all. And that was, I think everyone in the consulting firm, everyone can do that. So this was the level of Excel we were doing. So after just jumping forward. So after I finished the interviews, I felt that Ishan, if I have to be in the field of data science or data analytics for even some more time before I go for MBA, Excel is not the only skill which is going to help you out. So I started picking up 2 more skills. First was some programming language. That time R was getting popular, but thing is like in my job, R was not getting used. Nobody was using, because R is open source. And we were mostly working with the pharmaceutical companies. So data is there's a lot of privacy things. So we were using SAS. So SAS is statistical analysis software, if I'm remembering it correct. I don't think we use it much now. It's mostly in pharma and banking. But
Yeah.
that time, it was the most powerful tool. And then SQL is something I started learning on my own, because even in SAS, you can use a command and run the SQL queries. So I started upskilling myself. Then after I stayed there one more year, then I got some health issues. And in consulting, 12 hours is like average. So I felt that this is not sustainable. And I have also given my GMAT by that time. So I was like, let me see if I can get like a slightly chilled out company where I can focus, I can relax a bit and before I go for B school and all those things. So fortunately, unfortunately, I don't know what to say. I got a interview call from Facebook. It was just out of the blue. I know someone, and he put like, there was a Facebook group, analytics opportunities. They were like, Facebook is hiring for this role, and if you're interested, send your CV. I don't even remember when I sent my CV. So one day I was sitting in cab going to office, and I got a call. Hey, I'm calling from Facebook, the recruiter name. And I was like, and the most surprising part was I was not even a power user of Facebook. So I know I was there, but like once in a week time.
Okay. But back then, I think Facebook was quite doing well in India.
It was doing decent. Like I don't think in 2015 Facebook was that popular. It was popular, but it was not like the rage which TikTok or Instagram Reels has become today, like especially during the lockdown period. So I was interested, and I saw social media, and they reached out to me for a role called community integrity. So I was like, what is this community integrity? I have heard of data analyst, business analyst. What is this community integrity associate kind of thing? I still thought like, okay, let me give it a shot. It's Hyderabad. Worst case, if nothing works out, I'll just go for interview, see a new city. So I went with this mindset. And even in interviews, they did not ask me any coding kind of thing or like any analytics. It was mostly on problem solving, case studies kind of interview. So then for a month, there was no conversation. I was interviewing somewhere else and focusing on my job. And suddenly on a Sunday, I got a call. Hey, recruiter was like, sorry to disturb you Sunday party, but we would like to offer a role and all those things. I was like, okay, then I thought, yeah, I'll give it a shot. I'll at least diversify my experience. So joined Facebook. And I think that was the turning point in my journey of data science and data analytics. So the team I joined, it was more of a generalist. So there are few people who was doing operations, few people. So before I go into detail, let me give you an overview of community integrity. I'm sure you and all the users who are going, all the listeners of this series must have used Facebook or Instagram. So thing is, like, if you don't like any content on Facebook, you have an option to report the content. Right. So community integrity is a team which basically deals with user safety and try to make sure that any content which is live on the platform, it is compliant with Facebook community guidelines. If you guys don't know, you can do the Google search Facebook community guidelines and you will get it.
Right. So they were using AI in that back then?
I will not go much into detail. Okay. I'll keep it till the information which is available in public. So we use a combination of machine models and human content moderator, a mix of both. And we look at the content proactively and reactively. And only thing I can say, like, unlike public belief that Facebook is not very serious, I think I have been in Facebook for over 6 years and I have not seen any lack of effort to make the platform safe. Since the time I have joined, it has only increased. So it's like, people give that analogy. It's like being a goalkeeper. Nobody remembers you how many goals you saved. It's people remember you for the goals you miss. So unfortunately, that is the problem with the team and with the company, but effort is a lot. So I joined this team, and then there was a lot of things. As we are talking for a data platform, you guys know that the kind of ML techniques which we use is supervised learning. So in supervised learning, you have to provide data to train your model. So some people are working on understanding the model performance. Some people are working on understanding what kind of reports user are generating. Then a lot of people focus on operations, how many reports are coming, are we able to respond back to every report of the people, how accurately are we reporting, how efficiently. Then there are people who look into the policy, that if I say hate has a very nuanced meaning, right? What I don't want to give an example here, it might become controversial, but let's say what is hate in Maharashtra might not be hate in Madhya Pradesh. What is hate in India might not be hate in, best example is
Very contextualized, yeah.
Charlie Hebdo case in France. That is, I think, a public example. Now, France is a free-speaking country, but they don't have nuance for religious sentiment. But if you go to the Middle East or the Muslim countries, it was a sensitive issue. So that is the problem with hate. So we have to continuously evolve our policy.
Right.
Yep. Sometimes we come across issues like bend the knee. Now, if I'm sitting in India, I have no understanding of what is bend the knee. But if I see a picture, how can I categorize it's a racial thing? So I'm just giving you a few examples. So this is the nuance. Okay, we have to continuously evolve the policy. Right. So I got into this team and I was like, man, I don't know. This is very different from the kind of work I have been doing. So I started somehow getting involved more into understanding the the people who are creating abuse. Are there any systemic behavior? How my model is performing? Can I write some rules, or can I tweak machine models to?
And back then, NLP was not that peaked up. Like you didn't have this transfer learning models and everything. It was like basic NLP, which was done at that time.
NLP is natural language processing. I think in our case, it's mostly classification problem. We are classifying things good and bad. So the kind of machine learning engineers we have, they are like all Harvard, MIT undergrads or PhDs, right. These people. So we were using fairly advanced techniques. That is all I can say. So as a data analyst at that point of time, I was mostly understanding if classification, what is my precision, what is my recall, why it is going up, why it is going down. We have a bunch of model, how each model is performing. What is the cutoff threshold? If I increase the threshold, what is going to the precision recall? So giving recommendations like those, or looking into user reporting pattern. So, and then also looking into a bunch of operations, seeing how many reports are coming, how many are we responding, how many we are responding in like certain period of time, accuracy, efficiency, those kind of things. So here I'll say till this point, I was getting some gist of machine learning, like how classification works. And mostly it was more like a business intelligence person or data analyst who was looking into data, creating some small summaries and mostly processing. And this is the time I started writing a lot of SQL, like at least 20-25 queries. And slowly I just honed my SQL skills. So after being 6 months in Facebook, I was just got an opportunity to work on something called internationalization or localization. So till 2016.
So before that, just wanted to understand at Facebook, how was that transition? Like, so you had worked in ZS, this was an Indian company, and now this is Facebook. Altogether, like obviously, it's a product company, and you have a lot of sensitive things to work upon, and the buy is already higher on that side. So, kind of understanding about how was that transition. So I think you touched upon, and what were the specific tools, if you can share probably, or it were internal tools by Facebook. How was that? All those things. Yeah.
I'll first touch on the transition thing, and I think it is important to mention here. So one good thing was ZS was a US-based consulting firm, and Facebook is a US company. So core leadership, it was not a big shocker for me. I was used to working with American stakeholders. In terms of tools or the kind of data or problem, it was 180-degree overturn for me. So in consulting, you get like a very fixed thing. These are the project. This is the start date. This is the end date. These are the various checkpoints, and you have to do the things which you are asked. You don't use your brain. You just come up with the best approach to solve it. I remember, and second thing was, I never talked to my manager in consulting times. I was assigned the project consultant, project partner, project manager. I work with them. Adit, are you there? There?
Ishan, I think like there was a lag at that time. Can you just repeat that manager thing? के पहले से
Yeah.
वापस थोड़ा.
Yeah. Sure. So what I was saying that I have never met my manager in consulting. I have mostly project managers, with whom I'm working. It's a very well-defined engagement. You work for a month or 2 months, and that's it. In Facebook, when I joined, first thing was a shocker. I'm meeting my manager every week for 45 minutes. We have this one-on-one culture, which was a shocker. And manager is discussing hey, what's your career objective? What do you want to learn? And it took me some time. And they even, if they feel you're facing some challenge in your personal life, they actually try to help you with that also. It was a big, surprisingly good shocker for me. So
Right.
it took me some time. In terms of tools, I think consulting have very limited tools. Like you have Excel. In SQL, they would be using some clumsy database like all MySQL or Oracle database. And I never like this. In Facebook, we have this data engine called Presto. So if you Google search, Presto is something they have made public. It's so much more advanced. You can do so many things. And the kind of data set in consulting, we have like a very specific relational database. You are hardly dealing with numeric, and let's say date time is the maximum you can expect. In Facebook, the first table I touched, it has things like maps, JSON, arrays, there is metadata. First time I heard the word metadata, I was like, what's this metadata? So there was like a lot of difference in those terms. And the analysis design. In consulting, you don't know what happens with your analysis. Whereas if you are working in product company, you do an analysis, you convince the product manager, engineering team, and if they find your analysis is useful, they actually implement those. And then in a month's time, you will see whether you have actually done the good work or not. So I think all these things were refreshingly very good.
Right. Wonderful. So this problem statement which you talked about, was it that like a small set of team works upon it, or like multiple team works upon it from different angles? How is it in FAANG? Like
it varies from product to product, or like even the business problem to problem. But generally, and at the same time, I'll say when I joined Facebook, it was like close to 10,000 people, or maybe even lesser. Now we are like 70,000 people. So there are more processes in place, more sign outs, or more agreement you have to drive. So generally, there would hardly be any case where you would be working alone. There would always be at least 2 to 3 stakeholders. So for example, in data science, we work very closely, like very, very closely with product engineering, UX research, and sometimes some business facing team like operations, product marketing and sales. So these people are always your stakeholders. So in a nutshell, and I think I want to put it bluntly, data science, machine learning, these are all cost function. These are all support function. We are not like a product owner, right? Or we are not developing things. We are basically providing insights to help other teams to take the best decision.
kind of improving the ROI for the company and kind of improving the UX so that company gets the more ROI and more users and overall things, right?
Yep.
Got it. Right. So yeah, you were speaking about what kind of different projects that you had probably worked upon in Facebook, and I was also wanted to understand probably how different, like you might have talked with your friends in data science and probably in startups who are working. So how do you draw parallels? How data science functions in a particular FAANG company? Is it very different, or is it kind of very related, but the data is huge? So can you just elaborate about that part?
I think, see, actually, I have recorded a very good video on your platform, so maybe you can put this in
Yes.
description. But I'll just cover this part because it is a very important thing, and most of the recruiters, even founders and hiring managers, don't know this difference. So, data role is a very big bucket, and I think data science is the most abused term in recent time period.
Right.
So I'll draw this analogy first. So data and this description is mostly for FAANG. Then I'll come to the non-FAANG part also. So in FAANG company, we define data into two categories: data roles, data tech and data non-tech. Now, it's not like people who are in tech, they are more brilliant or they are doing the most advanced work. It's nothing like that. It's just by the design of the organization. So if you are in a role where you are supporting engineering team, a product manager, you become a tech data person. And if you are supporting a business team, or like at least the leadership who your manager or your team reports to sit in non-tech world, like non-engineering world, you are a non-tech org. So I've actually worked in both the orgs. When I started with the business operations org. So even like till 2-3 years back, majority of my work was with engineering team, but my manager report into a operations vice president. So we were part of non-tech org. Now again, in the world of data, so even my manager's manager was like reporting to vice president of operations. So I was part of non-tech org. So that's the key distinction. But now coming to like this term data scientist, this has so many nuances. So let's go through role by role. So I'll start with tech role. In the tech team, we have primarily three kind of data roles. Okay, first is data scientist. And if you see all the American companies, or now a lot of companies outside America, but like in Europe, they have started using this term. And I actually recently saw this in one of the job titles from Swiggy. So I was really happy to see that. They have started using the word called data science analytics or data science experimentation. So the data scientist, it's not like we are always building the most fancy model. You are actually working with the product team and engineering team. So sometime a product manager comes to me, hey, Shan, this half, we want to, let's say, increase the content creator on APAC market. We want to increase it by 20%. Or we want to just increase. By what we can increase? What is the headroom? How much can we increase? I'll do an analysis to understand whether it is a 20%, 15%, or 30%. Or they would be like, you know what, I'm thinking of adding these two filters on Instagram Reels. What do you think would be the impact of it? Should we even invest in engineering resource on this? Or hey, actually, you know what, we have just launched reactions. Like if you use WhatsApp, you can now react to the messages. How would you measure impact of this? Or we are seeing this metric is going down, this metric is going up. Can you tell me what is going on? Now, that is where you use all your analytics concept. Now, let's take this simple example. And Aditya, you are working in your company. I think sometimes you guys might be seeing, hey, we launched this new course. Why we are not getting enough subscription, or why number of users are going to decline? So this is a proper data science problem. Now, as a data scientist, how would I approach? I would start a root cause analysis. Now, the difference between my approach or let's say a typical data analyst approach would be, I would be very thorough. I would look into metric. I would break down my metric into numerator and denominator. I will see if it's an absolute metric or rate metric. Generally, absolute metric is if I'm saying the number of users are 60. This is an absolute metric. Absolute metric we should never design in most of the cases. We should always be designing a rate metric because it is more sensitive to the changes. If numerator is going up, if the denominator is going up, what are the factors which impact my metric? So I might use linear regression techniques to see if, let's say, number of subscriber of your course depend on 4 factors: advertisement, I was talking about the regression part. I'll start from there. So I was just giving you an analogy. Let's say if you have a metric called, this metric is going up, a number of subscribers of your course. Now a normal data analyst might, hey, you know what, subscriber might have gone down for this region or this kind of iOS versus Android, these kind of stuff. As a data analyst, data scientist, I would use linear regression model. I'll come up with a laundry list of factors which can impact your metrics. So maybe things like how much advertisement you are running on the platform, who is your course instructor, does the alma mater of that course instructor matters, what time is your classes happening. So I would consider all these factors, run a regression model and see which factor is more important and which factor is less important. And then I'll tell you, you know what, these are the 4 factors and this is the most important. And actually in that week, this factor has gone down. So out of 100%, if there is a 10 percentage point regression in your metric, 8 point is coming from this, 1.5 is coming from this factor, and 0.25 is coming. So this is the kind of granularity in which I'll go and propose the analysis. Or a lot of things which we do is metric design. Generally, if a product manager is launching a product, they would be like, hey, what metric to track? How should we calculate the formula? Then I'll go, hey, this is what we need to track. Then I get a business sign off. Then I'll work with engineering team to log the data. Then I'll, once you do the logging, then your next data teams come into picture, which is data engineering. So data scientists generally do the first proof of concept analysis. But when it comes to a scalable analysis or transforming the engineering database to the database which is required for analysis, or even building scalable dashboards, data engineering team come into picture. So that is another kind of data role. And then third is machine learning.
Right, sir.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, if I tell you the job proportion, if there are 100 roles available in the tech data world, I think 50 to 60 are data engineers, 30 are data scientists, 30 to 35, and 5 to 10 role are machine learning engineer. But when we talk about data science in real world, we think machine learning engineer. And I still get amazed. Sometimes recruiter call me, hey, do you have experience in deploying the production model? Yeah. So 5 to 10 are generally ML engineer. And I got really amazed. Sometimes I get like call from a recruiter that, hey, we need to hire a data scientist. And I was like, yeah, I'm a data scientist. And they were like, do you have experience deploying ML model? And I was like, that is a machine learning engineering. And funny part is most of the people, I don't want to name, but there is a very reputed preparation company. They also reach out to me. Hey, we need some mentor for data scientists. And when I look into their curriculum, it was all machine learning. And that is like neural network, computer vision. You know, I was like, you know what, in a proper engineering company like Facebook, Google, Amazon, nobody will call it a data science job. It is a machine learning engineering. They are called engineers. They are people with mostly maths degree, with experience in coding, or software engineer with interest in machine learning. And it is like a very sophisticated level of programming which is required for these two. So this is the kind of data role in the tech world. And like I said, machine learning is again very small. And when we go to the non-tech world, sorry, you have any question, Adit?
You talked about 50% of the people are in data engineering, but I think a lot of folks there don't know about like data engineers bhi kuch hota hai, or a huge majority which is required in most of the companies. And I think specifically in bigger companies, data engineering roles are very much important because I think they have to build scalable models in it. So you want to talk about that part as well too, so that yeah.
So guys, there is a rule of thumb in the engineering world. If you have 10 software engineer, you will need 2 data engineer, 1 data scientist analytics, and 0.25 to 0.5 machine learning engineer or data scientist ML. Got it? So this is how the proportion look in industry. And generally these machine learning engineers are really hard to hire. We are talking about the people who have, like, I know about Facebook and Google, where I talk to friends. If you want to get a data scientist title, or the people who are doing the ML, they are at least PhD. Like if you have done even masters from, let's say, one of the like NYU Stern kind of college, sorry, NYU Stern is a B school, NYU, New York University, they won't consider you for these roles. You have to be a minimum PhD, because most of your team is either PhD or postdoc. So they are like industry-wide resources. In US, they call it EB1 Einstein visa, EB1 visa. So these are the people who qualify for those kind of visa.
And I think, Ishan, here, which we are talking about machine learning. So this is in FAANG, right? So because FAANG has a specifically very sophisticated problems to solve, so they need specifically PhDs. But if we talk about startups as such, so I think that machine learning engineer or data science person is like involved in data engineering and machine learning engineering, data analytics, like a mix of three.
So, like I said, I'm first covering FAANG, and then I'll become a generalist. I'll come with a generalist approach. So from the tech world, let's go to the non-tech side. In non-tech, the kind of role which you will see is mostly sales data analyst, partnership data analyst, operations data analyst, people who are very similar to like data science analytics. We call it marketing science expert or partnership science expert. So basically, I'm sure everyone knows about the ads or digital marketing. So these are the people who tell you, let's say, if Board and Finty use Facebook ads, how much lift you have seen in your metric. Let's say if you want to get the course conversion or likes, how much extra increment are you getting from these ads? So these people do. Marketing science people use causal inference technique. They might also be like PhD people or like people who are well versed in statistics, but they're just working on the marketing side of problem or sales side of problem. Similarly, operations data analyst, if you have to create business reports, these people do. And then we have another role called data developer. These are the people who create databases, write data pipelines for non-tech roles. So this is how distinction looks. Now, let me give you another interesting insight. If we have 100 roles in a FAANG company, 80 are in non-tech, 20 are in tech. And even in that 80 role in tech, 60 to 70% are just data analyst roles.
So why is that the case? Can you just share that insight as well?
So like I mentioned, firstly, business has a lot of functions. If I give you like a ballpark, let's take example of any of the FAANG company. I think easily all the company have more than 50,000 employees, right? Their engineering team would be like 10,000 people, but 40,000 and then the support functions, the data science or DML, these are like another 3,000 people. These are like just 12,000 people. Remaining 38,000 are sales, people who bring you the money, marketing team, product operations, legal, policy. All these teams need data support, right? And and the kind of skill set these teams require, they don't need like a data scientist kind of skill set, like data scientist product. They don't need someone who knows causal inference. They might need someone who can give them a scalable report, or a person who is like a data. Yeah, can you hear me? Or a person who is like a data. Yeah, can you hear me?
There was a lag again.
Yeah. So I'm saying that a lot of these functions,
kind of people, yeah.
A lot of these functions require the kind of people who are not like a very heavy stats person, but the person who has a lot of SQL knowledge, can do a little bit of Python, decent understanding of stats, right? Who can do the reporting work really well, who can tell the answers to business, how much sales happen in this. Now, for these kind of people, you don't need a PhD or a very skilled person, right?
Right.
Someone with, and the kind of these roles are much higher than a data scientist role. So considering the cost of hiring for such role, then the talent crunch, and at the same time, if you, like I said, you don't bring a gun to a knife fight, right? So if you hire a very skilled person where we can't utilize that skill in the role, they will churn. They will leave the company. So considering all those things in the mind, we also need people with intermediate skill set. And the number of such roles are much higher. Intermediate.
Right.
And the number of such roles are much higher.
Right. Like we can understand it in that way, like because that 40,000 people which you talked about, in every way Facebook has a lot of data, so they cannot act on that data directly, so they need some intermediaries in the between, like data analysts and data people, one who are like understanding business as well, but they understand how to play with data as well. So those kind of people are very much required in such big companies.
Yeah.
Very understandable.
Yeah.
Got it. And so how do you draw parallels between in, let's say, startups or early stage companies comparatively in terms of data science function?
Yeah. So if you look into most of the startup and the people who call them data scientists, I have interviewed a lot of people, I've seen their work. Most of the time they are doing just reporting. They are looking into the SQL numbers. They are looking into the SQL numbers, they are creating the reports, and that is what they are calling into data science. Or what they will do, they will use, let's say, scikit-learn, stats model, and then build some model and call it. That's not machine learning, that is applied ML. Like I said, if I want to solve a problem, or if I want to take a stab on how can we use the ML technique to solve a problem, I would do the same. So similarly, all the tech and non-tech people who are working in FAANG, they are well versed in using these models, but they don't call themselves as data scientists because, or machine learning, because this is not machine learning. Machine learning is more about feature engineering. The kind of ML techniques which people are discussing in research paper can we use it in real world. So in startup, unless there are startups who actually do the cutting edge work. So I know, I'm not recalling the name, but there is a startup who just create the chatbots. Now, the people who are working there, they are actually machine learning engineers because they are using NLP or they are using deep learning. There's one company I really like, StatSig. So these are the people, they have a lot of ex-Facebooker and they are just doing experimentation. So they are data scientists with the experimentation background. They're not machine learning engineers. So there are a few startups who are very specialized. I do not know of anyone who use neural networks. So they might be doing very advanced machine learning, but most of the time people are using just these scikit-learn and just creating a model and doing analysis. It is all analytics work. All analytics.
Right. And I think a lot of places and startups, you have a lot of great APIs that these big people have already built in for you, like getting speech API or video API and a lot of translation API and everything, like you have all in place for you already, and you just have to plug and play. So that's a normal software developer can also kind of do some ML.
Yep. I was recently reading, like if you take Google Cloud Platform, GCP, they are providing you a suite of machine models. You have to just plug and play.
Yeah. Right. And I think most of the machine learning, cutting edge machine learning and everything is happening in FAANG companies because they are dealing with sophisticated problems, which kind of the startups are not kind of facing, or probably some cutting edge startups, which we can talk about, which are working specifically on some niche problems, rightly said. But in majority of the cases for the listeners, most of the jobs are in.
I'm just saying that I just wanted to mention one more point. And this is the rookie mistake a lot of people do. When they start preparing for data analytics, data science roles, first thing they do is they learn Python. And they don't even do a lot of pandas, numpy, cborn, matplotlib. They just do a basic of that. And then they go to Kaggle, pick some problem, like they start with the Titanic problem, and they build the machine model. And they put that in their CV, and then they come for interview. And I was like, okay, tell me what is the difference between left join and inner join. And they can't answer it. Because people don't know what you are preparing and what are you interviewing for. Now, I just said that 80% of the role are non-tech, right? 20% are tech. In that 20%, only 10% of the roles are machine learning roles. So you are basically out of 100 roles, you are preparing for the two roles, and for which you need PhD. So basically, all your preparation is going in the wrong direction. The biggest problem with the current preparatory pool of data science or data analytics interview is they don't know what they are appearing for and what they are preparing. So like I just told you, 80% of the roles which we get in a FAANG company is non-tech role. And I can do this generalization across the tech industry or even non-tech. 80% of the roles we have are mostly data analytics role, business intelligence, doing some Tableau dashboard, doing SQL query, creating businesses. In the 20% role, the tech roles, there are only 10% roles which are machine learning, right? So if I look into 100 roles, 2 to 3 roles are machine learning. Around 20-30 roles are data engineering, 10-15 are 10 to 15 are data scientists, and remaining like roles are mostly data analyst role. Now, what happened? Anyone who is starting their journey of data science or data analytics preparation, what they do, they learn a bit of Python, don't spend enough time on pandas, NumPy, Matplotlib, Seaborn, quickly just do it, and then go to Kaggle, take the Titanic data set, who will survive, who won't survive, and put, I have done one classification problem, then put like another 3-4 project. And then they come to interview data scientist enthusiast or data scientist in company X, and I'll ask them, can you tell me what is the difference between left join or inner join? Or can you tell me what is the difference between where and having? Or can you write a Windows function for me? And they can't. Windows function is very advanced. They can't do the joins. Because in interview, you have to understand what skill we are looking for. That is where the biggest problem happening.
Right. And Ishan, I think that brings us to a very important point that you should not, so basically, as you rightly said, it's not about building models per se, and a lot of the jobs in the market are for data analysts, and which translate to a lot of people who are even in non-tech as well. They can probably, as you are also from metallurgical or something like that, right? So you need basic aptitude and understanding of the business problem, which you can probably get once you are into it, and then probably learn a bit of SQL and data science and like basic fundamentals of things, and you'll get through. That is what you're trying to propose, right?
If I can become like 21-year-old, first thing I'll do is learn SQL.
Right.
Second thing I'll do is read statistics.
Right.
Third is, if I have some understanding of what company I want to go, I'll read about that industry. Like why Facebook care about daily active user. What are the analytics problems Facebook could be having? What is retention? What is churn? Or how does Google Map assess their quality? Or how does Uber booking happen? What are the metrics Uber care about? I'll read. There's a site called medium.com. I pay for that website. I generally do not recommend any course or any website where people have to pay, but medium.com, I'll say it is worth paying every single penny. There is a site called Towards Data Science. They put really high quality articles. I make a point that I spend reading medium.com articles at least 30 minutes a week. So read about those things. Most neglected thing is SQL. And if you go for any interview, there are 2 rounds where you would be just tested on your SQL skills. There would be like a lot of data scientists I interviewed, they're talking about bootstrapping and using Smart. And I was like, what is standardization and what is normalization? They can't answer it. So that's my recommendation.
Right. And I think people, a lot of times they learn a bit of SQL and then they just, ठीक है यार ये तो बहुत easy है चलो आगे बढ़ते हैं like but they don't give into depth कि यार ठीक है और data set के साथ let's play around with SQL, and as you said with statistics also, like they understand fundamentals of things and they move on towards, because the machine learning things are made, this AI things are made kind of fancier, as to say, like that computer vision का एक अच्छा सा LinkedIn हम डाल देंगे and that becomes fancier for people, and that is why I think most of the people,
nobody's going to give you an interview call because the entire team is having PhD. I have a friend who is working for this company Data IQ, and what these guys are doing, they are developing pre-built model. If you are a pharmaceutical company and you have this model requirement, buy this package. What you have to do, you have to plug in your data, and what you are doing from your scikit-learn or stats model, they will do a better job. The team has to just maintain the package. So if you are getting into those kind of jobs, those would be easily automated. Kind of people we need is who can interpret, who can look into data, transform it into a business problem. Who can look into business problem, transform into data problem, do the data, interpret the result, explain it to people to take the decision making. This is the key core skill set. And I say machine learning engineering is not data science, it's engineering. There's a reason we use word engineering in this.
Right.
And again, this is my take. A lot of people can disagree.
Right, for sure. But I think, yeah, people have kind of understood the ground realities, which like no one is kind of very much talking about in the market. And I think you have covered that pretty well. And so I think I was used to kind of talk about the piece of advice that you will give, but I think you already covered that with the, if I'll be 21-year-old, what you will do, SQL, statistics, and I think business case studies that you talked about. So just talking about how should they go about learning this things in the best possible manner, according to you?
Sure. See, there are two ways. First is just do a Google search, look for data analytics roadmap. People will get a lot of good advice. SQL, there are a lot of free resources available. Okay, stats, I like one course in Udacity. I think site is the Udacity, Introduction to Stats. But I still recommend people, and a lot of my family or close friends are asking, hey, we want to go into the data science. I recommend subscribe for any of these online courses. You do the due diligence. I won't say pro and cons for any course, but thing is, like, all these people have actually talked to industry experts. They have designed the best in class content. They will teach you what they create, the career track, data science track, data analytics track. There is like live coding classes happening. They're actually training you for the things which is asked. Now, what happens, like, especially for people like me, I start things, then I start like reading too much into detail, and then suddenly you lost the track. Similarly, if you enroll for a course, like I'll give you my example. So I was trying to learn proper Python since 2017. Until 2018, I could not. Then I actually enrolled myself in a master course where I have to submit all my assignments in Python. And I'm someone who is in the field of data analytics. Most of the things they were teaching in the course, I knew about it. But still, the way the course taught in a structured manner, it was really helpful for me. Like, I was going through basics of inferential statistics, then I go into the basics of machine learning. I always knew the concept of bias variance trade-off, but when they started deep diving into those things, like my concept on hyperparameter tuning was not that great. The course taught me this, and all of this was coming in a structured manner. Now, you don't have to think. There are best industry experts coming. These are the course which is vetted by multiple people. So do your research, join any of these edtech companies. They are doing great work in India and even overseas. So first is you can do all those things on your own. There's a bunch of resources, but what will happen, you don't know what to teach, what not to teach. Like, for example, when people ask me what to learn in stats, I was like, learn descriptive stats. Nobody's teaching you how important is box plot. How do you do the outlier removal? What is winsorizing? What is trimming? Trust me, any course is not covering this. But when you go for these online course, which is designed by someone in industry, they have faced this challenge. They know what is data imbalance, why it is important, how to handle data imbalance. So these are the practical insights which you will get from the course. So my advice is go for this 3 to 6 month course. You can read on your own, but these courses will supplement your learning. I know it's spending a little bit of money, but we spend a lot of money on a lot of bullshit things like buying an iPhone, which is a cost center. Learning these skills are going to be a profit center for you.
Right. As rightly said, this course is well vetted with the industry. So it gives you a very well defined structure, because otherwise it's all haywired. As you said, you were trying to learn Python from 2017, but it gave you structure from that course. I thought, okay. So I think this course's kind of structure is very, very important when you are focused towards a goal that you want to crack as a data analyst or something like that. Okay. Very well, rightly said. So I just wanted to also understand about what was the role of a mentor in your career, and could you share about that in general? So, did you have any mentor, and what kind of role that he played in your life?
Yeah, actually, I had multiple mentors in my life. And the reason you have a mentor is for two things. Firstly, they guide you on the best possible path, and you can avoid the mistake they have done. So even in Facebook, even when I become like a senior person and become a leader, I had a mentor, at least one mentor all the time. There are multiple aspects to work. Like there is people aspect, how to manage a team, how to manage cross-functional partners, and how to think about your data journey. And I try to get like a mentor in all three directions where I take. So depending upon what you want to achieve, of what is your weak area, get a mentor on those direction and be very open with them. Tell that, like for example, I have that one mentor and I'm still in touch. I think he's the one of the smartest person I have come across. So when I joined, I was a data analyst at this point of time. And I was like, I want to become a data scientist. And he was like, why? And I don't have any idea. I was like, right now I'm bored of reporting and I really want to do this interesting analytics process. He was like, why don't you take like a pet project, or why don't you take a project with the team, see if you even like the work? And I actually talked to him and got into his team and I took a project. Initially, I was struggling. Like I was not comfortable using statistics in application. So he taught me, he mentored me. I got to know whether this is a work I actually like. Before that, I was very interested in data engineering. I have actually myself written more than 100 pipelines. So I was, Adit, can you hear?
Yeah, can you just repeat that part again from 100 pipe?
Yeah. So earlier I was very interested in being a data engineer, and I got a mentor in the field of data engineering, and that person enables me to do that project. And that person gave me the similar advice. I actually did a project with the team, and I really like, oh, actually data engineering is not that exciting. So having a mentor, they are like sounding board to your idea. You say things to them, and they give you a critical advice whether you should do it or not. They also suggest you the best path and what are the mistakes they have done. And sometimes when we are thinking, we become overconfident or underconfident at the time. So they can also keep you in check. So
Right,
yeah.
right. Nice. So yeah, it's very important to have a mentor, as you said. Okay, so one personality trait that you think a person should possess by like design in data science, like what do you think, like that's the defining personality trait for a person? Like it could be few also.
I won't call it personality traits, but these are few traits. These could be developed or these could be inbuilt, which makes you a good data scientist. First is a problem solver. If you don't enjoy that problem solving, because as a data scientist, you would always be given an unstructured new problem. If it is already solved, it becomes like a business intelligence problem, right? We're refreshing a number or something like that. So that is one part. Second, you should be open to being wrong. So there is no, it's not like software engineering where you can compile your code and you will see whether it is working or not. Here in entire data analytics, we come up with a hypothesis that if something is happening, it is happening because of this reason. And then you take a lot of assumptions, and under those assumptions, you run an analysis. Your assumption could be wrong. And yesterday I was working on some analysis, and 50% of the metric I proposed was wrong. And I'm a very seasoned analyst. And we could be like, if you don't understand the product in and out, or if your understanding is very different from your cross-functional partner, whatever recommendation you are giving is wrong. So open to being wrong, but fixing it. And third is convincing stakeholders. So nobody cares about how complex analysis you have done. You have used PCA, you have used forensic forecasting techniques. If you can't convince someone to act on the analysis result you have been producing, your analysis is going on a waste. Just throw it in the dustbin.
Right. Because as you're dealing with the stakeholders, you have to convince them because otherwise your work would go in waste. Like whatever you have done, it would go in waste otherwise, because if you cannot convince whatever you have done, it won't be implemented at the end of the day and it won't work out for that.
Yep.
Very true.
And you must have noticed, I did not mention a single tech skill.
Yes, so true. So yeah, because as a data analyst, you are very much supporting the business function. So this business things are more important and people don't realize that enough. So I think, but yeah, after this.
And this is a person's trait. Like if you are very operational in nature, you are very thorough, you might be great for a supply chain job, but you might not be a good fit for. But if you have these traits, I think take a skill I can teach if you have willingness to learn.
That's so true. So just to summarize, that was, I think, problem solving, be up for change, and third one was
problem solving, open to fail but improvise, and then convincing stakeholders.
Right. Okay, so we'll just kind of are on the climax of this podcast. So just few quick questions. So just for experienced folks, because as you have been a seasoned data analyst and into data science field from a long time, so how do you really be productive enough in data science? Like what are some of the tips and strategies that you generally apply to be productive as a data scientist? Because it's a open-ended problem per se, and you have so many things that you can do. So for software engineering, you know that you have to develop this is the design on the front end or the back end, this is the system design. But in data science, it's an open-ended thing. So how do you kind of keep yourself focused onto that problem and productively solve the given problem at hand?
Yep. So I'll actually give you a broader perspective beyond the things you have asked. So if you're an experienced person, firstly, you need to decide on few things, whether you want to remain an individual contributor or you want to become a leader or people manager. Because if you've got experience, experienced person is getting paid more than a junior person. So nobody's going to give you that extra dollars or extra rupees for writing the same SQL query. So that is the first thing. Second, even if you don't become a people manager, you have to lead, you have to be a functional lead. So be open to that change, first of all. Then second thing is evangelizing your team's work and basically developing the skill set in team. Let's say I'm amazing at SQL. If I keep on writing, I can produce the same amount of work. But if I get 3 junior ICs, I can actually teach them those skills and get more work done. Initially, productivity might decrease, but in the long run. And third is you should always be open to approach new kind of work. So as a senior analytics professional, you have to attempt the analysis which nobody has done. So you have to, as it is a technical field, I'll say keep on revising the basic concept and read other analysts, other data scientists analysis, how they are tackling a problem. I am fortunate. I'm working for Facebook. We have an internal tool called Workplace. If you guys have not seen it, it is an amazing tool where it is a collaboration and something like a very advanced version of Slack. And here I can go into my analytics community and read the people's analysis. But if you can't do, medium.com. LinkedIn, I personally follow, I'm personally super interested in experimentation. So there's a person, Rohan Kohavi. He has also written a book, but I follow his posts of people who are a lot into experimentation. I read their LinkedIn things. I read their Medium. So keep on reading other person's analytics problem. And within your company, engage with the analytics community. Maybe the problem you are solving, somebody has solved in some other area. So as a senior person, to be in this field, these are my advice or recommendation.
Got it.
I know it's slightly long and slightly deviated, but I just wanted to cover all the aspects.
Yes. And so in Facebook also, just to get that, like which we talked about in the middle part of the podcast, we you majorly, the analytics people are majorly concerned about SQL and kind of building the dashboards and kind of solving those problems. So mostly you will be given a SQL query board where you can write queries and kind of get business results. That is mostly it, or anything specific that you want to probably touch upon that you use in Facebook, because I think we were left out on that part.
I'll cover the tool part, but I just don't want to give more than required emphasis on tools. So, see, tooling is a way to solve a problem, right? Your problem as a data analyst or data scientist is not writing the best query.
Right.
It's solving a business problem using data. Right. Now, the medium of analysis which you want to use completely depends on your choice. So, for example, I can say this about almost every online company: you need to know SQL, because all the data is getting stored in the SQL table. It's not like in the text file. So if you don't know SQL, you can't process the data. Then depending upon the kind of analysis you're doing, if it is some data manipulation or some basic things which you have to do, SQL tools, like we have some internal tools, some other companies might be having, is sufficient. But if you have to use a statistical package, let's say if you have to do hypothesis testing, you are using t-test or z-test, or if you are developing the linear regression model, these things could not be done in SQL, then you go to Python. Sometimes you are developing a dashboard which need to be seen by 1,000 people, then maybe you need to go to Tableau, Power BI, or internal visualization tool. So in tools, it's SQL, Python, and visualization. You would be using things intermittently. SQL you are going to use day in, day out. Python and Tableau things may or may not happen depending upon the kind of problem. But again, super emphasizing on this point, it's not about tools, it's about solving the business problem.
So rightly put up. Thank you so much for that. So yeah, and I think this you have probably covered. Anything apart from Medium that you kind of read about to keep yourself really updated with the latest and the greatest things out there in the data science and the data analytics field specifically?
So I do a couple of things. Firstly, Medium go-to source recommended number one, because here people contribute, so they write about their analysis. Second thing is I read Analytics Vidya. They also put great content, but they are more on the concept. They do not generally have not seen much analysis getting put there. It's mostly the concept. And then this site called Machine Learning Mastery. Yep. And as I'm in the field of product data science, I read a lot of product blogs and look into. So if you any new product is coming, a lot of people do this product videos, how this product is working, what are the features looking. So look into the user journey and all. So I spend a lot of time on this. On top of that, I generally go for a lot of talks where I talk about data science or the work I'm doing. I get to know, people ask me a lot of good questions, so I learn from there. I even sometimes teach on weekends, so to make sure that I am up to the most of the concepts. So technical thing I'm covering like this, and then for learning the best in class analysis. And like I said, I'm very fortunate that I'm working for one of the FAANG companies. We have amazing thousands of data scientists, so they are coming up with new problems every day, new analysis. So that is my biggest learning source.
Wonderful, Ishan, wonderful. So I think that was amazing insights that you have shared, like all about how data science works exactly in FAANG companies. And I think a lot of people had this thing in mind that FAANG company में कुछ अलग ही होता होगा, मतलब कुछ out of the blue hota hoga. But now you have broken down it so simply that it is just SQL at the end of the day. It's just basic stats at the end of the day. It's just basic business case study. And I think that is true for most of the data science that we do, it regardless of which company, small or big. So I think that was very, very useful for all the people. And I think they would have gained a huge amount of information and huge amount of knowledge from this podcast. And so thank you so much for being here, Ishan, and sharing your knowledge with the listeners.
Thank you. I want to thank you all for providing this platform. It's always great to give something back to the community, and I can't thank you guys enough for starting this initiative. You guys don't know how many new learners and data enthusiasts you guys are helping. So keep up the great work.
Thank you so much, Ishan. Thank you. Thank you.